Our final guest tonight, I've known for many years, and it's rather special. Jonathan Hansler.
First of all, I want to say to everybody, thank you so much for coming down and giving us something very special, your time, which is so more important than money. I wish people would realise that in this industry. The other thing is I just love the Andy Warhol stuff. Isn't that brilliant? It's great. It's great. Yeah. And I need that, and I need that. I'll take those things. Cheers.
Jonathan, we're here.
We are here. We got here. It's amazing, isn't it? It's just brilliant. So thanks everybody. It's fantastic. Yeah.
We talked about this. I'll tell you a bit of the background. Is that Jonathan had this great idea about 7 years ago, was it?
7 years at Cannes Film Festival.
And well, tell us about that.
Well, the Cannes Festival. Do they have fists at the festival? I don't know, maybe they do.
Only late at night.
That's your mind, not mine.
It wasn't.
No. The Cannes Film Festival is one of those places which is very good for a tax break, actually, so just think about that. But because basically you can just simply write it off, it's marvellous. But because it's business. But I was over there and I was drinking then, I'm now 5.5 years dry, and I was just wandering around the place, you know, and it's a bit like Disneyland with security guards, you know, and you're sort of, it's very sort of full of lots of people drinking and some people making deals and some people telling lies and lots of other people. And I thought, there's no comedy here. You know, comedy's one of our most valued things in the world. It's the most important thing. It makes the world go round in so many ways, but there's no celebration of the great comedians. There's no celebration. And there was only one place I went to, which was a place called the Super 8 tent. Now, if you've been to Cannes, it's a regular. And you go in there and people screen Super 8 film all the way through, but even the mistakes are in. So it's really funny. And I fell about laughing and I thought, wouldn't that be a great place to celebrate comedy at this festival, which has been going in France for years and years, the festival in the world, but does not have, as far as I could see, any comedy. And I thought, why has Peter Sellers never won an Oscar? What happened to that? Comedy's the hardest thing you can damn well do, and anyone who knows it will tell you. We have this snobbery in this industry that, you know, no, it's not really just people being funny, you know? And it's not that, you know. It's a bloody hard thing to do. I've been practicing it. It's like a magic, you know. It takes years to master it, and it's tough, you know. It's not easy, and especially film, because no one's laughing. They're just sat there going. You're doing a comedy film, and you've got to get it right one take, man. That's tricky. So that was my initial thought. But I was drinking then. As sobriety has worn on, I realised that it cuts deeper than that. This is where we come into this, that it's all about mental health. It's about celebrating these people who can make you laugh like a drain. But inside, what's going on? What's going inside Peter Sellers' head? Why did he never say who he was? Or talk? I mean, he did talk to therapists, we know that, but he isn't open. He never came out and said, this is my fucking problems, man. I suffer from anxiety, I've got depression, I've got this, I've got that. This came back from there. And nobody really understood him. Peter Cook, I wear this T-shirt with pride. This man was a genius. I love him dearly. People say he was a difficult person. What is a difficult person? Well, difficult to work with. What does that mean? Geniuses are difficult to work with because they work bloody hard. That's why they're difficult. And maybe you don't understand the geniuses. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe there's a lack of communication there. I know we were talking about this earlier on, that maybe one of the ways to open up a rehearsal room or a film rehearsal or anywhere like that, maybe the one way to do that is to actually people talk about themselves before they start reading the bloody thing, right? So you actually say, well, this is me, this is what I've got, I suffer from this, I've had that, and then we can all incorporate it into a performance and a performance structure. Rather than say, I suffer from anxiety, may I just say how lucky you are to go on stage with that wonderful sense of, because I don't get that. I remember once I was on stage, I was in a play in the West End called The Libertine. I was understudying 4 parts. And I suffer from anxiety. I think I bought out Rescue Remedy. For quite a sum, I think it was. It was pretty good. And you know, it was really tough. It's really tough, you know, when you suffer from this stuff. And I sometimes think that people who really suffer from anxiety are bloody good at what they do. It's that anxiety that makes them good. This is why, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm John Cleese's official Basil Fawlty. Now, people say, oh, that's wonderful, you're John Cleese's. Yeah, but I couldn't be John Cleese's official Basil Fawlty if I don't suffer from anxiety. You know? Anyway, sorry, Andrew.
No, it's great, fantastic.
You carry on.
So what started as a glorious pun about
absolutely.
getting comedy in Cannes and laughter, we started talking because we were putting on a series of events here at the Thames Variety branch,
that's right.
to do with mental health, and we had some great speakers. And Jonathan said to me, I would really like to talk at that event.
Yeah.
And I've known Jonathan for several years, and I had no idea that he'd been suffering in the whole sort of background. So what we talked about with Jonathan told me the great gag about canned laughter. We said, actually, well, canned laughter actually means a lot more, because canned laughter is fake laughter. It actually hides the real thing. And we're in an industry where we celebrate success, and we never talk about our failures. And the reality is, we all suffer from issues. And so what we said is, let's have a look at, if we're going to do that, let's extend canned laughter from the great gag to start embracing mental health.
Absolutely.
And give people a platform to talk out.
Yeah.
Because it's the brave ones who talk out.
Exactly.
Who can encourage others.
It is the brave ones. And you know, there's a wonderful New Zealand comedian who goes around the whole of New Zealand and he encourages children. He goes to their place and he goes, okay, how many of you kids, this is a hybrid between, maybe it's South African I'm doing, I don't know. But how many of you kids, how many of you little kids there are happy? And the guys who are happy, they go, yeah, I'm happy. And he goes, how many of you guys are a little bit depressed, want something going on? And they go, yeah. And he goes, okay, those guys are the brave ones. Those ones there, they're the brave ones, all right? You guys, look after those brave ones. And it's wonderful because it gets that wonderful sense that people can actually come together when they understand each other. The problem with Britain is we're reserved. We keep everything to ourselves. It's a bloody nightmare. I think there's more therapy in this country than any other. They may say America, but at least they speak. 10 to the bloody dozen, but they speak.
My wife's American. That's very good. No, I wasn't saying actually just in the room, so just aware of that as well.
No.
But what's interesting, Jonathan, as I say, it was that sort of catalyst, having that platform. But it's only fairly recently that you started to talk about some of those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't care anymore. I actually don't give a Oh dear, naughty word. I'm so sorry. I'm wearing Peter Cook's t-shirt. Anyway, I really don't. I was at a boarding school. I know there's some people here from boarding schools who it's really wonderful to see the support. My sister at the back is one of the absolute queens of
Joanna.
Support. We're going to nail the bastards, basically. I was sent at the age of 9 to a boarding school, which is like where your mind gets boarded up. I think that's why it's called a boarding school. On a sense of 9 or 9, I don't want to go. But I was, on a serious level, it was run by a paedophile for about 40 years. And you can imagine what went on there. The problem was that the bullying was endemic because the people who were being bullied were being abused. So I was being abused. I was orally abused twice, which is why I wear a blue around my neck. I was hung in 2 different schools. But comedy is all about repetition. My father was a cruel man, but he was fair. Actually, he was dark-haired, so he was just cruel. My God, he was dark. But this is my sense of humour now, because it's my only way of sort of coping with what I had. You know, my father was an alcoholic. He died of it, and that's why I hate alcohol. Although I don't, I think it's each their own. If you've had a wonderful life and have a drink, it's not the, do you know what I mean? It's, But for those who haven't had a wonderful life, just watch yourselves, because it's very, very dangerous. Very, very, very. I know I'm 5.5 years dry, so for me, this is why I'm here. I couldn't be here if I was drinking. I couldn't be doing what Andrew and I are doing, and I'm so proud of Andrew, because Andrew's the sort of logic behind this. I'm the scatterbrained loon who just sort of runs out with these mad ideas and comes up with stuff. But no, it's so important. I was abused in my school. My school was run by this paedophile. The whole school, 40 years of paedophilia had been going on. And now, at last, ICSA, the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, is been established by a fantastic lady called Professor J, who is really kicking out the real awful people and punishing those people for what they've done to lives, and certainly my life. If I wasn't a performer, a comedian, and God rest all the comedians who've gone, I'm so sorry for them. And that's one of the reasons why I love canned laughter, is because I wanted to have a place to celebrate those people. You know, their work. They gave their heart, their soul, their laughter, their life for the world, but kept nothing for themselves. And that's the true danger. That's the true danger of it all. is that we leave nothing for ourselves, and we have to have something. We have to have our soul. We have to be able to... And that's why I'm so glad I'm here, because I have a purpose in life, you know? I'm not someone who's going to end it, because, no, we're going to push forward.
But it's only fairly recently that you started to speak about this.
Yeah.
What
Through my sister.
What was the
I spoke to my sister on a beach, didn't I? I whispered to you on a beach.
Yeah, about just over 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago. Come on, Joe.
John was in a show in Exeter on my birthday, and then we went to the beach the next day, and he told me a sort of disclosure about what I'd always known about the school. And so for over 2 years now, I've been campaigning through Boarding School Action and Boarding School Survivors, which are Facebook groups, exposing child abuse in boarding schools, which is such a taboo.
Yeah.
And a lot of very famous comedians, our best,
Yeah.
our products.
I bet this boy here.
Bullying,
Yeah.
abuse, you know, whatever form it takes. But because it's paid elite education, it's very difficult for victims to make their parents wrong their 10-year investment, parental investment, and to sort of come out. So ever since then, and on the beach, John said to me, "Joe, what if people never work with me again? What if that's the end of it? They'll just say I'm difficult." And what I'd like to just share is that I'm not an actress, I'm just a sibling, but that John's life has been transformed in the last 2 years, and that this shame, which was never my family's, never his, this sort of, he's thrown it off, and he's flying. And
I hope other people will fly as well. That's the idea, not just...
And I really hope that your project together really reaches as far as it possibly can, because I'll always support John. He's so brave.
Oh, that's lovely. And actually, it's a really important point. I mean, we talked about the statistics earlier, that 1 in 4 people have a mental illness for whatever reason, an extra trauma. 1 in 5 contemplate or have suicidal thoughts. They're shocking, shocking statistics. But actually, the ripple effect, where it is the family, it is the loved ones, it is the friends, it actually encompasses everybody.
Absolutely. I just want to say as well, Joe, do you remember we did a programme, I was on a television programme called Boarding Schools, The Secret Shame, which was on Exposure on ITV, and I think we did about a whole morning, about 2.5 hours. They screened about 30 seconds, I think it was, in the end. But we got our point across. You know, we all spoke about what happened to us. And after that, I think, was it about 300 people came forward, was it, or something like that? There was a hell of a lot of people suddenly just came forward because of just that programme. And then we did ITV News Southwest and talked about the school on that as well. You know, and it's all been an incredible process, you know. And, you know, you can take my career and throw it in the bin if you like. I don't care if you don't want to work with me again. But this is far more important than Peter Cook. I mean, the play I did about Peter, not the man himself, God love him, but and Basil Fawlty. That'll make lots of laughter and make lots of people happy. But it's about long-term happiness. It's not about the short-term fix.
And talk a bit. I mean, we touched on this earlier. I know it's very sensitive, and you need to wait a little bit then do. But if the basic sort of principle, the effect that it had on your life for all those years, because we're roughly the same sort of age in our late 20s.
Yes, absolutely. 1920s.
Exactly. but the effect it had on all your life when you were bottling that up until fairly recently that you started to expose it. Talk us through that.
I think that was booze. I mean, I spent most of my life drugged up, you know, and thinking I'd get away with auditions at 10 o'clock looking like Dracula. You know, that alcohol plays so many tricks on you. It's a ridiculous game, honestly. People think that you can get away with stuff. You can't. And people said they noticed it, you know, but no one can tell you you're a drunk. No one can say you're a drug addict. No one can say you're addicted to this. You know, you've got to go through that journey yourself. And I think, you know, I can remember doing speed bombs, dope, anything to escape, really. But what I didn't realise was what had happened to me, that I wasn't to blame for it. I blamed myself. And, of course, people thought I was in a bad mood, or when I was in rehearsals. All I was doing was hitting myself. I wasn't trying to get at anyone else. All I was doing was beating myself up, because I felt I deserved to be beaten up. I felt that by beating myself up, that would be the best way to do things, you know, to actually lay into myself. And, of course, everyone thought, oh, he's bad-tempered and he hates us. No, I hated myself. I hated myself for years and years and years. And people used to say, "You're the funniest guy. He's so funny. He's so funny. Oh, look, he's doing another Peter Cook impression. Oh, God, there he goes doing it." But, you know, that's probably what they really felt, you know, in a way, because that's what drunks do, you know. They go in and they try and be somebody else and impress people, but it doesn't really work and it becomes tedious. And the problem with alcoholics is they'll say the same thing again. The problem with alcoholics is they'll say the same thing.
And having gone through all of that, I mean, you say a lot of the comedy heroes, and the reason you're so brilliant at playing Peter Cook and
I was told once I had got 5-star reviews from Peter Cook, and the director, I met him later on, he said, "Do you know why you got those?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're on the same path of self-destruction." And it's true though, and it was only through that realisation, you know, and now being sober, that I saw him and he said, "Thank God you're sober. I thought you'd be dead." That's what he said to me. You know, and as I said about John Cleese and Basil Fawlty, he's the most anxious person in the world. It requires, and yet that's why in a way I thank God I do have anxiety, because as much as we hate depression and anxiety and all those things, in some strange ways they do help. Not always, and I'm not saying it's the best thing to have, but in some ways they can help.
And Stefan showed us earlier the massive list of names, long list of big celebrities.
You know, I mean, I absolutely agree that there are so many people who are now dead because of many drugs, all sorts of different things. But you know, I look. My heroes are comedy heroes. I've always been a fan of comedy, or fan of comedians. And I look at Peter, who died of alcoholism. I look at Tommy Cooper, who was just... I'm not saying they killed themselves, but there was misery there. There was abject misery and alcoholism in these people. And yet, to all intents and purposes, these people are the funniest people on this earth. Now, what people have to establish and understand in this, and I'm getting quite angry about this, but what people have to understand is that the cleverest, the most talented, the most genius people are probably afflicted. The people who are in the middle of the road who've had great families, who are in EastEnders, who are doing whatever they're doing, you know, playing the sort of normal middle of the road stuff, they're probably having a great life. That's fine. But it's the real true geniuses out there, the people who can, I don't know, play 12 instruments and go on and get 5 stars at Edinburgh, and you know, and come back and do a West End show as themselves, as a stand-up comedian in the truest light, are probably going through hell. And I know that for a fact. I won't say any more, but I know that for a fact from my past experiences of people who have suffered to that level. I've been in situations with people who have been literally suicidal and are geniuses. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
And why do you think that is? I mean, you think about the great names that you mentioned. You talk about Tommy Cooper, you talk about Peter Sellers, you talk about...
Do you know what? I think there's a number of things, but I think also it's imagination. I think they have this incredible imagination, and imagination is a very dangerous thing. Because as we said, you know, the two sides of tragedy and comedy, there's a very thin piece of paper between the two. It's like walking just through a veil, one way or the other. And that is why this is so good. I love our logo. I didn't really... You know, that is the Candelafra logo. It is, you know, it is so true. The sadness and the mask that we put on that just takes a frown from a smile. Oh, it's, yeah.
And it is the problem, we've touched on this a number of times, it is the problem that in this industry, everybody has to boast about success.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about the failure. And actually, it's an industry which is dependent
Yes.
on putting yourself out there and being rejected and rejected and rejected.
I want to say something else as well. There's something we have called CPTSD. Now, we talked about post-traumatic stress disorder, and you'll probably know about this. It's child post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Okay, we have anxiety. That's fine. We have depression. But what people don't know is that post-traumatic stress disorder, you guys were at boarding school, you probably have it, I imagine. I certainly did. I definitely had it. You know, what happened to me is I went from colour when I was about seeing everything in colour, being like the top dog in my old little comprehensive school, which I dearly loved, to being sent away to this place where I literally had to be forcibly removed from the car and dumped on the tarmac. But also, I can't remember much. I don't know if things happened there that I don't want to think about, but I know that there were swathes of black and patches of white, and the white wasn't much fun, but at least I could remember it. So that went on for 9 years of my life, you know, and this can't go on anymore. You've got to love children. There's a wonderful T-shirt my sister bought me. It says, "A child is for life, not just the holidays." And there's, you know, it's absolutely true. If you've got to love your children. Aren't going to get love. You're going to, we'll look after them. No, you'll look after our money. You'll look after the business. That's what it is. You're a business, mate. You're a business. That's all you want to do. Whatever you're going to be, a franchise, you'll be a business. But children need to be loved. It's not always about education. And if it is about education, then do meditation. Teach them. Now there are 370 schools are doing meditation,
right.
and you know, as part of the curriculum. And it's time that they did, you know. It's really worthy. I can't believe that that's happening to the kids. They're actually doing meditation, and they're doing stuff about not just nameless things like ancient Greek and Latin. I mean, you know, I can't remember what other things do. You know, I understand if you're an archaeologist, that's fine. You want to do Latin, but really, I don't see, or a doctor. But
basis of all language, Latin and Greek. But going back to your school times, you say you didn't speak to anybody? I mean, were you talking to your parents about anything?
You can't. You're shut up. You don't. You feel it's wrong. You don't understand. You're a kid. You don't understand if someone's already abused you. You don't know if they're hanging you, but you put a smile on your face. It's like acting, isn't it? It's like the mask. There we are. It's that mask again. Even as a kid, it's like hello, oh hello. My father used to do that. That's how he used to do it. It's my in the holidays. Hello, good evening. How are you? It's nice to see you. We could go on like this for a while, couldn't we?
It does feel like it.
It's no real emotional contact, but let's have a damn good handshake. It's very good. I kept thinking he was a Freemason for years.
So talk to me about your relationship with your parents, because I know it's a difficult sort of side. Because
I don't give a damn. Okay. Yeah, what do you want?
You had nobody to talk to. You felt very isolated.
Yeah.
Looking back, as you have done over the last couple of years,
yeah,
how's that affected that relationship?
I think my mother and me are more distant, because I think she doesn't quite know how to handle all this stuff about boarding school. She doesn't, you know, she feels a responsibility, and I can understand that it's all coming out of the woodwork now, and it was kind of wanted to be kept under wraps. And in fact, all the hierarchy of my family feel that. But this can't go on. You know, it's not about my family. It's not about my mother or my, you know, it's about the people out there. It's the next generation, you know. It's about people being free, people being allowed to express themselves, and being allowed to, you know, that's what, you know, be true to yourself. Be to that. I mean, it was Jesus said, "To thine own self be true," you know. And he also said, "Forgive them; they know not what they do." And I think those are two very good morals. I'm not a Christian. I do write a letter to God every morning, you know, just because I don't have a father. So there's another one, you know. So yeah.
What are you saying in your letter to God?
Oh, just protect me. I pray through the day, that kind of stuff. You know, look after the people. Look after people out there. I hope that Canned Laughter goes well, and it has done. You know, all this stuff. Yeah. And I'm so pleased and proud that everyone's come along to support it, because it's such an important thing.
Well, we talk about being a catalyst for others to talk, and also certain coping mechanisms. You say your letter to God is a daily routine.
Yeah.
Do you have other coping mechanisms?
Yeah, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for a while. I've done CBT. I'm doing bits of that, and I think this is a wonderful therapy in its own way, because I couldn't feel prouder at the moment. I really can't. It feels like I've hit a wonderful. It's a great moment.
And you were saying earlier that actually you have all these fantastic achievements, but the point that somebody else made is that if you can make one difference to one person's life, as a result of what's
happening. Absolutely, it's so important. Yeah, if people are affected by today and lives change, that's more important than any Oscar or any Emmy or whatever. You're saving lives. It doesn't even, you know.
I think we've got time for opening it up to the floor. We have a number of questions. Let's start at the back. I will come to everybody.
I found that really fascinating because of what you're doing and the whole event. I've got hold of Monty Panesar, a cricket player. I've brought Monty along.
Oh wow!
Stand up, Monty.
Let's see your
Whoa! Come on, Monty, come on. That's a book signing. Here we are.
Are we doing a book signing?
How are you, Monty?
I thought it'd be great to bring Monty over because
Bring a chair.
The experiences that you've are showing are very true, because Monty was at the top of his game. He had everything going for him. He was basically playing for England. Everything was
Thank you,
going well.
Monty.
Media was there.
Good to see you.
And everybody has a demon. Everybody has a shadow. Something that causes them to go into depression. Even when you're happy, you're not happy because you've got underlying things. So I thought I'll grab out of Monty and say, Monty, come and have a look at what's going on, because in all sort of careers, all types of professions, we experience this.
Well, little did you know, Monty, not only did he bring you along, he's forced you up on stage with your book. Are you all right about that?
Is it on? Is it off?
Yeah, no, it's on. It's on.
Well, I was just quietly listening, and I didn't realise Balbert would get me to speak in front of everyone. So I haven't really prepared anything, but I'm sure today's about, was it mental health
It's
issues?
all about encouraging people to speak out about mental health and mental health awareness.
So with my book, I did address some issues about mental health, how to keep it healthy, things that you should do. I think talking is probably quite a courageous thing. Talking about things which are not connected to, let's say, a person who's normal, connected to reality, and then suddenly you talking about abstract things. You're thinking that wall looks purple, but it's like it's white, what's going on. And you need some good friends, healthy relationships who can actually sit there and talk that through you. So I think, having friends and family, investing in them, sort of healthy relationships are important.
Yeah, absolutely. So my sister is here as well, which is so wonderful. She's come all the way from Devon, which is just brilliant,
Did she bring your book with her?
No, I don't have a book.
Don't have a book,
It's
not
in my
yet.
mind. I've got a play, but I won't talk about that.
So some of the issues that we touched on today, and tell us a bit about your own story then.
Well, in sports, people tend to have certain, mental health issues, and they feel that they can't openly talk about it because we've got a big game next week. It could be in football, could be we've got United next week, or in cricket, got a big team playing Yorkshire or Lancashire, and I don't want to talk about it because if I do well in that game, then I'll probably get selected for England. So let's just keep it in-house, go to the gym, boost the endorphins, feel great, or why don't I go with my mates in Monday Night Football, go to the pub, have a couple of pints, and I feel good now. I've had a bit of a drink, feel good, everything's okay. I'll go back home, and we don't realise that in the subconsciousness, these are the emotional triggers that our body gets used to, and we get used to in a habit form talking like this, and then suddenly, without you realising, the body is used to that. It's become an addictive behaviour. The body's used to, or your mind is used to talking about, depressive things or whatever mental health related issues you have. It's a habitual form. There's a conversations you start having. Instead of having positive ones, you start having these negative ones. And suddenly that serotonin is dropping. You don't realise it is dropping. When it comes to a point, it's in depression. And suddenly that's a very, very dark place to be in.
And you've opened up as well. You've got your book out at the moment called The Full Monty.
Yep, it's here, The Full Monty, forward by
I can
Andrew
read from a
Eborn.
distance. Pass it over. Let's have a look.
There you
So
go.
this is The Full Monty. And you talk about your journey in that.
Yes.
And do you have tips as to how you coped on that sort of basis as well?
Yeah, well, I remember I was at Sussex, and one day I just felt really I felt really distorted and very confused. And I went to the pub, like Sussex, in Hove where I live, they have their own brewery, local brewery.
Right.
So I'm like, let me just try and taste, the local brewery. And then I remember having one pint, and it just felt so good. I was like, why does my mind feel so great? And why am I talking so much when I have a pint and don't talk without having it? So I started to rely on that. I thought, I'll just have a pint and I feel good. There's nothing else of it. But then gradually that increased more and more. I didn't realise that alcohol was a way of actually me opening up and actually connecting to reality. It was my way of coping with whatever was happening with inside me, because alcohol just made me feel really good. And then I think my family, my friends, they kind of thought, something weird. You're just not being yourself when you haven't had any alcohol.
Right.
And they said, I think you should just, maybe go and have an appointment with a psychiatrist, because in a very gentle way, sports people are proud, mentally strong we are, aren't we? Any given situation, when the going gets tough, you bring on the key player, and he's always tough, he's mentally always strong. And that's what we're known to be. We're not known to be like weak sort of male, people. But yes, you had a question. And that's what, I was living in that reality with sports. So I was like, who do I talk to? And then I remember having an antidepressant, and mine went really quiet. But then 2 weeks later, motivation was lost, no goals, no drive, just sitting there quietly.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not being myself as my personality. So then I thought, how do I tackle this? Some of my other friends who were very close to me said to me, look, come to a cafe, have a coffee with us. They didn't tell me there was a hypnotherapist sitting there, right? Because they knew I would never have gone. Because, being, again, that proud sportsman, as we are, like Monty, he's a key player, he's supposed to turn the ball, get the batsman out. At Sussex, I was a responsibility with, my head coach I said, you're my key man in this team, I build my team around you. And then I've got to live up to that expectation, I can't, that's who I am. But then, sitting there with a hypnotherapist, 5 minutes into conversation, the next 30 to 40 minutes, I did not have a clue what was going on. And then I realised there's something bigger happening here. I'm really ill. I'm mentally not well at all, and I'm huge denial to myself. And then, I realised, well, how do we tackle this then? Because I know something is not right, and then I thought to myself, what do I go? Do I go the medication route, or do I take the holistic approach? And for me, then, I tackled it with the holistic way. I didn't use medication. And it's very painful, the mind is going crazy, all these crazy thoughts, everything is just on overdrive. And I remember my life coach mentor said, he goes, you got to go through the painful barrier of all of this crazy stuff, because next day, like the serotonin levels were dropping down, next day, gradually, there's 1%ers will keep going up again without taking the medication. So that's what I did, the way I went about it was like yoga was one of my ways of doing it. Yoga wasn't there to actually get my body stretches, right? Yoga was there, I have 1,000 thoughts in my head, and then by doing an hour, I'll think, why do I feel so in present with what's happening right now?
Right.
It's because all of these thoughts, the tension was just released from the mind.
I gave up alcohol via meditation. I did 10 days of Vipassana meditation, which is basically where you go to a place and you can't talk to anyone. You can talk to the guy who's running it, you can talk to your teacher, you say you can't speak. It's from 4 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, and then you have vegetarian meals in between, but you say nothing for 10 days, and that's how I gave up alcohol. When I came out, I went out to a premiere, had 4 very massive large glasses of wine, was hung over to buggery the next day, and I was able to sit and actually observe what I was doing to myself. I thought, I'm killing myself, that's it, and that was it. And that's how I made the decision.
And what's really interesting, there are these common patterns, and I genuinely did not know you were coming along today, so thank you for that. But what is good is that other people are close to talk. But we have a question there. Yes, please.
Well, firstly, it's a huge privilege. It's great to meet you, John, and Joanna's been so great in the audience.
Yes, she's amazing. Yeah.
I think she was the catalyst for me to do this, so it's a privilege to be here. Monty, I used to love watching you in cricket. I remember the stand with you in, was it Australia, when you were holding up for the draw in the match? I can't remember who you were playing with, but it was
Australia at Cardiff, with Jimmy.
Yeah. But I think, just saying on John for just a second, I think what you've said in your testimony is just so important, isn't it? All of us who went to boarding school had different experiences.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel
he had a lovely experience.
I feel somewhere in between. I went a lot earlier. I went at 6.
Yeah.
So
Joe went about 7, didn't you? 7.
So it's the same. But it's just really saying, I think, having the vehicle, whether it's on Facebook sites or other things or whatever, it's just so important that people have that chance to speak. Just as in terms of the profession, in terms of the performance here today, it's straddling that really important thing in what's clearly another really vulnerable place in people's lives. So just to say, it's been a tremendous privilege meeting you. And
thank you for coming, man. Because
to Monty as well, who who still want the greatest of involvers. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving up your time, please.
Brilliant. And I love everybody's got a PR man here. It's great. It's really good. Do we have any more questions? Any more questions? Yes, please.
Jonathan, you tell us about your horrendous experience as a child, bringing it forward to what you're doing now, how you're opening up and trying to get people connected or at least recognise what's happening. Have you found that the current education system, the governors, the teaching profession of private schools and boarding schools have acknowledged what you're doing and are taking the metal and actually doing what they can to obliterate it or to dig out their own historic...
Well, I don't know if you know,
have they
Paul.
kind of pushed you away?
You only have to look at ICSA, which is the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, which is incredible at the moment. They're all backling down very, very fast because they know their asses are on the line, man, and people are going to prison. Right. So that the standards are all changing, everything's changing, and hopefully we'll shut down every single one of those places, you know, and we'll have some freedom, and people can, and children can be free, and you know.
We've got time for one more question, maybe. Yeah, please.
This is a question for Monty. How difficult was it? I mean, there must have been a moment when you felt the dressing room camaraderie just wasn't supporting you at all. And what was your critical moment of kind of breaking out of that?
Yeah, because when we're in a competitive environment, you know, you get paid lots of money, and you know, you're representing England, and you know, the coach is just saying to you, this is the target, and I want you to hit that target, and that's it. I need you to deliver that skill, and that's all they care about, you know, because you're in a competitive environment. It's not a place, you know, where you have to, like I said, talk about things which are going through your mind or whatever. It's just not the place for it. You know, it's very competitive. Everyone's on high salaries. You've got to deliver that skill. But yeah, that's what it is. It's not the environment, you know, and you can't really talk about these things. So, you know, you got to, like, you know, get away from all of that. You know, cricket's one place where they say, why does cricket have the huge rates of suicides or mental health issues? And because isolation is the breeding ground, you know, for mental health issues. And, you know, you look at AA programs or any other programs, it's all related to, like, I don't know if someone goes to the church here or the Bible or Catholic. You know, when I was in Sydney, I used to just go on to church on a Sunday because my friends were all Catholic. Then I just thought I'll just, you know, go with them. And even then they say, you know, like iron sharpens iron. And that's the same thing, you know, and it's important to be in places of congregation for yourself where you feel happy. And people around you, they will help you through it by just talking. Half of the stuff, just whatever's on your mind, doesn't even exist by just talking about whatever, and suddenly you feel a lot better. Just isolating yourself and not talking about it is going to definitely, you know, increase a lot more activity in your mind.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we've come to the end of what's been an extraordinary journey. It has, as I say, been launched.
It's the beginning.
The journey is to the beginning.
The beginning of the end.
The journey to the launch, absolutely. But it is important. If our last surprise guest proves
amazing,
just getting people to talk and come out is really, really important. I'd like to thank all of our speakers. They've all been absolutely brilliant. The next event, in case you've forgotten, is on October the 7th. This one's sold out immediately. We will be releasing the date when the tickets are going to go on sale very, very shortly. If you are affected by any of these issues, there are people to talk about here. We will put contact details out as well. But in the meantime, if you wouldn't mind just staying, for those who are happy to be in a photo, we'd like to publicise this to the world. Do tell people about Canned Laughter.
Please do.
Do encourage people to talk about their issues. And if they want to be involved in future events, do encourage them.
Come on, guys, don't be scared about it. It's, you know, who cares a damn? You know?
Absolutely. Do encourage
and if people do give
it.
a damn, they're not worth giving damns too.
Quite right. Jonathan, thank you.
Yeah.
Monty, thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.